Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Amy.
And I'm Brian.
And we're working on a dream. Wait a minute. It's the other way around. I'm Brian.
I'm Amy.
And we're paying off $290,000. And we are working on a dream.
Yes.
So this is Working on a Dream, episode 1. I'm Brian.
And I'm Amy.
And we are working on a dream. And we are in the middle of paying off $290,000 in debt. We have about $58,000 to go. We didn't win the lottery. We didn't win any prizes. We didn't go on any game shows. The only thing we did was we followed a plan and we stuck to it.
We decided to look into the Dave Ramsey plan and figure out how we could make that work for us. It started back when I was in PT school. I was
physical therapy
school. And it's a graduate program for 3 years, and your second year you go and do 3 different clinicals. And my clinical that I had that was going to be living from my house got canceled, and so within a week I called up a friend to stay with her, and she graciously took me in, and she, in that 8-week time frame, had signed up for Dave Ramsey Financial Peace through her church. And I was like, yeah, right. Like, paying a class to help you with your finances. Like, if I need help, I don't need to shell out more money. But one of the famous Dave Ramsey quotes is, more is caught than taught. So she would bring home her homework from the class, and I just got to see her work through that. And it was eye-opening and terrifying all at the same time, because I would do a mock budget with her with what expenses we had, and it wasn't looking good. And then when you graduate PT school, you're ready to go get your new job, but that was 7 years of college, 4 years of undergrad for me and 3 years of grad school. And then he had 4 years of undergrad. So
we had not a clue as to what the ramifications of taking out student loans, what that was going to mean for us. We were just like, yeah, that's just what you do as 18-year-old kids going to college. So we just thought that was normal. We were just like, yeah, we know college is expensive. I didn't understand that there probably could have been another way to do it. Like, I could have gone to community college. I could have found a totally different profession. I would have probably been happy doing anything. But, we were 18 to 20 years old, you always think that college is the foundation to a better life, the foundation to your dream, the American dream. And all we were working towards when we got here was, I was trying to get a television job because that was what my degree was in. I'd graduated. I went to Centenary College of New Jersey. And you went to undergrad at UNCG. I think you already said that. For kinesiology. That's the University of Greensboro. UNCG at Greensboro. That was redundant, wasn't it? University of North Carolina at Greensboro. That's what I meant to say.
Clearly he didn't go there. And then my grad school was at Elon University. And that was pricey. Of course, I went to a state school, but I wasn't a resident of North Carolina.
Beautiful campus, by the way. Paid for every bit of that new building.
Probably own a building or two.
Oh man, our name should be on a building by now after what we paid. So you went out of state for UNCG.
For my undergrad. And then went to a private school for my grad. And I did not have any financial support from my parents at all. So everything was done in loans.
you took out some loans in their name.
They co-signed.
Okay.
But there's that. So then we got married in 2015 after...
That was my first big mistake.
after I graduated, and then we had a couple that we were friends with, and her and I would go on walks, and we start talking about how we needed to like get our finances in order, but we had no idea where to start. And so I pulled out that idea that I got from living with our friend and asked her if we could borrow the tools, because when you took the class of Dave Ramsey at the time, you got to keep like the book and the CDs and things like that. And she graciously let us borrow it for the 9-week course. And so we did like a little home edition FPU class, and it was the best thing we've probably ever done.
So to backtrack, so it was January of 2016
that we started.
Yeah, and you had talked about it like probably a couple weeks before we actually started sitting down and taking the course.
Started dropping hints like, hey, we should look into this.
I just kind of like, well, when I first heard it, the first thing that I thought of, because I heard them on commercials like for years when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, like consolidate your loans, daytime TV, in between the daytime TV.
I had never heard of Dave Ramsey.
All the time you'll hear, well, I never heard of Dave Ramsey before, but I heard of like, I was thinking of like those debt consolidation things, and that was the first thing that I thought of was like, it'd be crazy. I'm like, I'm already paying that. I think debt consolidation, first of all, is ridiculous because you're paying somebody else to pay what you're already paying. So you're paying one more thing. That's always the way I felt about the debt consolidation.
And you're paying them, and then they're holding off on your debts, and then going to try to.
You still have to do the same. You still have to do the same thing, which is pay it off. There's no way around it.
And I'd rather handle that myself than have a company handle it.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Not that that's allowed in student loans.
So prior to this, we were making our minimum payments with like a little bit extra you threw on, right?
There wasn't really extra.
There wasn't much extra. But you had basically just graduated. You just started working.
So I graduated in 2014. I remember calling all of my student loan companies, because there was about 3 of them at the time, and talking to them and really like putting together the pieces of what I owed. There was one loan that I owed $300 to $400 a month for 30 years. There was another one that I did decide to consolidate a lot of my debt because I was going to try for the public loan forgiveness program, because I decided to work in a nonprofit. And so I was working on that, and I put all of that together, and then I went on an income-based repayment plan. And so
headroom, by the way, headroom. This is
are you gonna edit this?
No, this is like totally, we're going the full thing. I'm just giving this is a lesson. And if you ever do like any of your Zoom meetings, if you do any camera work, anything like that, or you take any headroom is important. Just that little bit.
Clearly he majored in
I learned
TV.
at least I learned something from the 30-something thousand I paid for.
So we got married in 2015, and then in January of 2016 we decided to start this process. And so then in February of 2016 is when we started officially the Dave Ramsey program. We started February 1st, and we used that month to do our emergency fund, which is baby step 1 of $1,000.
And that's just to get, like, that's the starter. Because I just heard, this is going back to stuff I've heard, that you need more than $1,000. You do need more than $1,000, because $1,000 really isn't going to get you a huge emergency, but it's a starter emergency fund is your $1,000. We'll get into that further, but we're just telling our story. Keep going.
Yeah. And so we were fortunate enough to be able to like pinch and save, and we were able to complete baby step 1 by February 28th of 2016. And so then March 1st is when we started the baby step 2. And we're still in baby step 2.
4 years later?
Yeah, we're going on 4 years.
4.5
years. We're hoping to be done by 5 and a couple months maybe.
But we still had no idea how bad it was, which was probably a blessing in disguise. Like, we knew how bad it was, but we were just tackling one debt at a time. And that's
Right.
that was kind of the kicker, was like, it was just like $20,000, right? What were there was that one loan with the 3, and it was kind of broken up, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's where
in the course, when you get to that lesson, they have you write out your debts. And I knew that my number was huge. But when you're a college student and you're like, oh, it takes $20,000 for the year. Okay, yeah, sure, I'll make that. Like, that's fine. And then, it takes 4 years to do that. And so, yeah, so it added up quite fast.
and you just don't do the math of like, okay, it takes 20,000, you multiply that by 4 years, right? 20, 40, 60, 80,000, plus your interest, which is compounded daily.
Over my 7 years of being in school.
It's not bankruptable. You cannot bankrupt this. We had no idea. Nobody explained, there's nobody there at the financial aid office to explain this junk to you when you're filling out these forms and you're 18-year-old kid, and the parent, our parents thought they were doing the best thing for us. I'm not hating on, either one. They thought they were doing the best thing for us.
They just
And they did. I mean, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at the debt. I'm not mad at anything. This is just the fact of life, I'm glad we have it. For the fact that it got us to learning all this stuff, because it's all there for a reason. But if I could tell myself something when I was 18, I would have told myself to go be a plumber or something.
Yeah, I would have probably. I mean, I love my job, but the cost to get my degree versus what we actually get paid, it's just not worth it. When I could do a different medical field and make more for the payment it costs. Like a PA school, like that's 2 years. PT's 3. And you live and you learn. I love my job. I love everybody I get to work with. I just don't love the price tag that came along with it. So, but we're getting there. So we did list them all out, and you list them smallest to largest. You want to follow the snowball method if you're following Dave to help get you that momentum to pay off all your debts. And we have about $58,000 left. 4
years later, we have $58,000 to go.
We've paid off $236,000.
And like I said, it's amazing that we did it. It's still funny, like that first part, like you still had no idea. We still had no concept of the big number that it actually was in the beginning, right? Like, because there was just different loans and we were just tackling them one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then like we got to that big one, and I just remember like after a while it just became a normalcy that we were just going to be poor for a while. So I really just forgot a lot of times of what we were doing.
It's hard. It's so hard because you really have to sacrifice and pick and choose what you really like. Do you want to be debt free, or do you want to go get a nice coffee every day? And because every little thing helps.
Yeah.
It's so helpful.
So okay, this is where we get into it, right? So he encourages you in the first, 1 or 2 episodes, and I think in the first episode he says lay out your budget, because that's absolutely where you find everything that you're doing right and everything that you're doing wrong. Because a lot of times what happens is your behavior amplifies your spending, right? So you're just gonna if you don't plan it out, you're just gonna spend, and then that's it. You have no idea where your money went at the end of the month.
So Dave firmly believes in budgeting, and you assign each dollar, each penny a place, because if you don't, it'll just spend on its own, basically. Like it'll just kind of disappear. We were shocked at how much we should have left over Like, we didn't realize just how much we were spending on. Our main thing was eating out.
And I mean, we're not living on a lavish budget. We are middle class, probably lower middle class family, married couple. As far as all of this goes, it was astounding just to see what you have left, like you said, at
Once
the
you
end.
assign.
Oh my God. And you're just like, like I said, when we first started this, I was like, what the heck? Like, when you started talking about Dave and the financial stuff, I got a little defensive. I didn't vocalize it to you, but I was just like, in my head, I was like, what else could we be doing differently? I was like, what else? We were
scraping by.
We were scraping by. I was working like 3 jobs at the time.
I had 2.
And yeah, I thought we were fine. And when he tells you to lay out that budget and you actually look at your bank account and you look at what you laid out, it's astounding. If you have never done a budget before and you do your first budget, it's going to blow you away. We were spending $400 in groceries and like $600 in eating out. Is that about right?
I mean, that was yeah. There was 1 month. So you have to give yourself grace. So like when you go to do a budget and you go to follow his steps and make a budget, you need to give yourself 3 months. And so we started our budget in February. And so February, March, April, we kind of thought we had it down. And then May came along. And I was just like, whatever. Like, I just can't. I just need my month. I don't care. Like, it was getting close to the end of the month. I was like, let's just go eat out. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. But I diligently wrote down every charge, every cash system I think we were still using the card at that point. But every time we made a purchase, I wrote it down. Well, at the end of May, we had spent $700 to $800 eating out. And that made me feel about this big.
I mean, that's in 7 to 8.
Because we had done so well. And you hit those walls, right? And it was just what I needed to show myself, I guess, that it was really working. Because, I mean, our smallest loan was $7,500. And that's where we started. And it just grew and went up from there. And our consolidation loan was over $180,000. So we had a mountain to climb, and we were just starting to just kind of tiny throws at his loan, what we could. We ended up being able to pay off his loan in the middle of July of that year, and then we started on the next biggest loan, which was $14,000. So it wasn't really small victories for us, but because some people maybe have like little credit cards or their loans are only a couple thousand, and yeah, so that was eye-opening, but that was what I needed at the time. Now we have a system down where we get personal money to go spend.
Yes.
We choose how we want. I'm more of the cook in the family, so I try to cook in as much as possible.
I learned, but I suck at cooking.
Oh, I'm not the greatest, but...
Well, no, I will say, when we first started here, like, I was working Domino's Pizza in Greensboro area, and I was an assistant manager. I was making like $8.50 an hour, which was really... We made by. I don't know how we did, but we did. And I came home and we had hamburger helper most of the time. That was where we started. I mean, and that was just about making it.
Yep. Hamburger helper, PB&Js.
And I remember you have your friend shirt on.
Yes. And
we actually, our first couple months, we didn't even afford cable. We had friends' DVDs we watched.
We didn't have internet. We didn't have TV.
We didn't have internet or TV for the first couple months that we lived here. We were literally living by God's grace.
Yes.
Like,
we had a free couch from State Farm.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Jake, from State Farm.
That was the same person.
That's the same person.
This is the
It
same
was.
Shannon. Shannon. Okay, so first of all, we have to give a lot of love to Shannon because Shannon, first of all, when we moved down here from New Jersey, she gave us a place to live, and we lived there for a month. And I don't think she realized how fast it was going to be that we found a place or how aggressive we were looking. And after that, she gave us the couch, the State Farm couch, because I think they were trying to get rid of it.
So our apartment could have.
So our apartment, and she's the same person that showed us the Dave Ramsey course.
Mm-hmm. And then she let me stay with her.
And she
PT school.
just got married. So
She did. Congrats.
Congratulations, Shannon.
Yes.
So yeah, we owe a lot to Shannon because she was the one that really started this whole thing off. So let's go back to your spending portion of this. You have to have a portion that you spend, a small portion within your means, portion that you spend each month, because you're going to spend. You need to spend. This is a capitalistic society. You can't not spend. You know what I mean? And just for your own human nature, for your own, for you to be human, you need a coffee every once in a while or whatever it is you want to spend. You eat out with friends, eat out for lunch with coworkers. For once, I don't know. You just need a little bit of that to get by on, just to feel good.
Well, and you're gonna spend money with what's important to you. I spend my personal money typically to see friends. I like that and I enjoy that quality time. So whether it be over a small coffee or eating lunch or something pre-Rona, that's kind of where I would spend my money. It wasn't on tangible things, where I think you like to have sometimes tangible items. And it's okay because we're different. Like, that's what makes us different. And if I wanted him to come out and eat with our friends, sometimes I'd cover for him because that wasn't where he wanted to spend his money, but it meant to me for him to be there. But you have to, as a married couple, merge your accounts, merge everything. We have one account and we share the budget. But that personal money that's allocated to each of us, we take out in a cash system and we can spend it without question on whatever is important to us. So that's a helpful hint, I guess.
So we're going to put a pause right there, and I'm just going to tell you, we started this thing out, started doing this, sharing our story, if you will, because first of all, I read Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crushing It, and that's just where he said, just be genuine, don't lie, just tell your story. If you want to win on social media or whatever it is you want to do, just literally just tell your story. And I just one day just said, Amy, I was like, let's start a TikTok. TikTok was the hottest thing at the time. It was the biggest mover with followers and everything that was going on. So I was like, let's start a TikTok. And we started these 1 minute videos on TikTok, working on a dream. I'm going to add this below. And that was where we had started telling our story. And so I expanded from there. And it was actually your idea to do the podcast.
Yes, I thought that it would be kind of nice to be able to answer questions or give longer explanations to what we're doing, because people, I know they're in the same boat. I know they're not in as big of a boat debt-wise, but I know that it could potentially, like, if we could just help one person, why not? So.
Yeah, and it's just been incredible. We've had, like, over the wave of the past, I've been doing the TikTok since about January 31st. And how much were we in at the time? I can't remember. It was
116.
116 at the time. And that's when I started it. And so we started with these, if you see these chains behind me, this is pretty cool. So we started on these, so this is how much we've paid off. And they go all across there and all across there. And then in the next episode, we'll show you the ones that we have left. But we just started with those chains, and we have one on this side that we've paid off. one on the other side that we have left to go. And that's been absolutely motivating. And literally the TikTok, when we started, was just cutting out those literally just cutting the ones off of there, or ripping the chain off. And each one of those is $1,000. Each one of those links that you see that's $1,000, and they keep going. So there's that.
Yeah, I thought in researching and reading Dave's stuff and being part of Facebook groups with Dave Ramsey, a lot of people talked about visual trackers, and so I didn't even want to spend the money on printing out trackers. So I made my own little thermometers for myself to color in, and then I thought about something that would help him. And so then I made the chains.
I need
so the chains are his visual, and he seems to love them. So, and it's visual for me too. I can't wait for them to not be on my wall anymore.
Well, no, but it's so cool because of where, like, it was just one big long chain, and I don't remember what we were doing with it when we first started.
What loan were we on?
No, what we were doing with the chains, because we didn't have them split up the way they are. Did we?
What do you mean?
Oh, they were all across the kitchen. I'm sorry. They were all across the top of the kitchen cabinets.
Yes, they were kind of hidden away.
Literally just going back and just going. There was so.
We would put the one we were working on this counter.
Yeah, and there was so many of them.
So one loan at a time.
It took so much just to get them up there.
So this might be a little too much information, but the rainbow colored links are for one type of loan. And what we did in the beginning was we celebrated every little milestone and every little goal that we could. So we celebrated paying off that one. There were 2 rainbow linked loans. So once we paid off the one, we went out and celebrated. When we paid off the next one, we went out and celebrated. Then the large chunk of color links that we have was all of that condensed, consolidated loan. And so I did about every 20 to 24,000 that we paid off, we were going to go out and celebrate. So once we got onto a new color, we met our goal. And so that's why you see blocks of color. Like there was blue and then yellow. And now we're on red, and we just have white and green to go.
We're almost done. And
yes.
We're almost out of time. And so the one thing I want to do, the one thing I'm like stickler about, so we're working towards our debt-free scream. We want to go to Nashville. We want to make a trip of it. We want to go to Dave Ramsey. If you haven't looked him up, look up Dave Ramsey, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube.
Watch some debt-free screams.
Watch some debt-free screams. We're working on our debt-free scream, so we're gonna practice our debt-free scream.
No.
Well, why not?
Because we're not debt-free.
But we're almost debt-free. Do you not see what I'm doing here?
But I don't want to do that scream until we're debt-free.
Well, that's no, you're ruining the whole thing now because this was my plan.
This is
3, 2, 1. We're almost debt-free. It's my idea. Why am I the one doing this? Damn it.